If you've ever signed up to go to a video game competition and realized there was a porn competition next door at the same time, you've basically lived the movie we're about to make. Get ready. How on earth did Juicy Bits become a video game / adult film movie? I don't know, but thank you, Brian, for checking in Juicy Bits, and thank you for tuning in. We're going to turn this into a film right now.
That's right. Before we do, remember, if you haven't yet, subscribe, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. We're out there. Follow us on Untapped if you want a chance at your beer being the next movie. But yeah, other than that, I'm gonna get out of my own way and let's go friggin' beer me this Juicy Bits movie.
Yeah, so we got a little bit of work to do here. The last Fast Five, if you watched it, it seemed like we were never gonna land on the right beer.
That's right, which always happens
until you do.
And then it's there. It is.
And I didn't think it was going to be the one called Juicy Bits, which is a fun name. But I remember saying to Harrison, "I have nothing for this."
Yep, and I thought, well, maybe there's something here.
And so the way I remember it, your idea was kind of like a video game with the bits, like 8-bit and stuff, and the juicy being,
something juicy, not video game related.
That's great. This is a video game and porn movie. We've said that a couple times, just trying to get the Google SEO to work for us.
Yes.
Tell me kind of where you see this going.
Right. So again, I think what we kind of started with in the Fast Five is great. It's a group of, let's say, 3 high schoolers. They love video games. They're going to discover porn. That's where it's all beginning. And this is 90s. This is early 90s.
Back when you had to work to discover it.
That's right. Yeah, porn was not everywhere. You had to find someone's magazine.
Unmarked VHS tape.
Right, under their bed. Had to find a thing that said The Big Game. It was scratched off and then said, something else in the VHS. Something boring, tax tape, or whatever. If you had to be real sneaky as an adult back in the day to hide your naughty videos from prying eyes, but
boring science movie.
Right, watching it on a 12-inch screen. But that's the way it was, and everyone turned out okay. Well, turned out as good as they could have turned out, I guess. So that's the world I'm seeing this all begin in. It's just 3 kids. They're 16, 17 or so, love video games, and let's say one of them has an older brother, turns their life upside down by throwing a porn in one day, and now maybe video games aren't as interesting. But so that's what I'm seeing at the beginning, John.
Okay. I mean, that's if you're in your probably late 30s, 40s, early 50s, that could be a really common experience.
You know the story. We're not talking about you.
I was going to play
worry.
video games. Then we finally put boring science movie in, and I watched a man do something I've never seen before.
Exactly right. What's this? What are these noises? Where is everybody's clothes? This is a strange movie. Wait a second. It dawns on you in real time. This guy isn't here to fix the sink, is he? He has no tools. His shorts are way too short. Oh, that pizza looks cold and fake. What kind of movie are we watching?
Adult films had to have a story.
Right. And bless them for doing it because, that's fun, a narrative to kind of be invested in the character.
Yeah, set the scene.
A little bit.
Set the scene. And in this movie... we're looking at like mid-90s, something around there.
Mid to early 90s.
Golden time for video games, not for porn, but golden time for video games.
A different kind of porn. Coming out of the 80s, big hair everywhere. Maybe the 90s was a little more refined. I don't have my porn history. That's not up to date. I don't have a timeline in my head where I've memorized the evolution of porn.
But this is pre-HD.
Yeah, for sure. This is exactly tiny TVs. Everything's VHS, and so you're working with what you can get. Trying to tune into Skinamax.
You can't just skip to the next scene. You have
there's
to
no skipping.
Rewind or fast forward and wait a minute
and hope the tape doesn't eat itself. Because then everyone's out of luck and
Burn
angry
that VCR.
at you. What have you done? You've ruined my life. So let's talk about these. Let's start with these three friends. Let's talk about them a little bit. Let's figure them out. And then we'll kind of see what happens when the curveball of porn is thrown into their lovely little dreamland of being, eating Trix crackers and turkey sandwiches and playing video games after school every day.
Trix crackers and turkey sandwiches. What a bemused life you
Lunchables and ices or whatever you want.
So we're not in a rural town with video games in the 90s. Probably not.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a name city, but are we in like a pretty? We're probably in I want this to be in a bigger city.
In the city or like a suburb of it, like right outside the big city.
Probably big city scares me. Yeah, probably right outside. Like,
yeah, this is a nice family middle class neighborhood. With duplexes or what are they called, shotgun houses? Over under.
This is you live here, but you probably work in the city, but
exactly.
You live out here so that you
saying.
can have a little bit of a yard.
Right, a little bit of a yard. The dogs can run around. The kids can play. In the lovely, tranquil world that is 1992 or 3 or 4 or whatever.
And these kids, so the group of three friends are our main. We'll probably have one main character, and then
Absolutely.
He's got two friends.
Yep, we're following him around, and he's got his two goofy friends. So let's start with the main character. You have a good name for this. It's going to be inspired by the check-in.
Yeah, Brian checked into Juicy Bits. So Brian, you are the main protagonist to this film.
I hope your significant other isn't angry with us. It's just a movie. Brian didn't put us up to it.
Totally made up. Totally made up.
Okay, this is great. So Brian, all of them are kind of the other kids, not to stereotype or whatever, but nobody's a high school quarterback here. They're just doing their own thing. They don't need to be outcasts, I guess. They're just, not sitting at the cool kids' table, but who cares? That table's dumb. So we got Brian, who, let's say a lot of the stuff happens in his basement, maybe single mom who works a lot. So Brian's house is a place to hang out and eat a bunch of chips and drink too much soda until you feel sick and play a bunch of video games till your head hurts. So who are his two accomplices? Let's talk about them. Let's say a few words about his the knights in shining armor that are next to our King Arthur here.
Yep. So we got these are nerds before nerds were like cool. This was still the 90s when nerds have always been cool, but in the 90s it wasn't so sexy.
Right.
So you've got Brian, single. I love single mom. So Brian's got the house where you come to, you can kind of hang out after school and stuff.
Exactly.
And usually Brian's mom's at work. So his two friends, you've got Tad. They call him Tadpole. He's shorter.
Yes.
He couldn't have played sports even if he wanted. Tad
Braces,
loves video games.
huge glasses, bowl haircut. His mom loves him, and Tad's always getting in trouble because he's staying out too late. He comes home covered in chip dust, which his mom doesn't want him eating.
Not supposed to eat him.
That's right. Right. I
no
love
full
this.
strength sodas.
Oh my god! And Dad's just happy to be there.
His other friend Dale,
actually
did play sports a little bit in middle school.
I like it,
but he didn't. His fitness didn't lend himself to staying involved in sports. Plus,
eating chips and corn dogs.
Loves the chips. Doesn't even really care about the video games, but always brings the corn dogs. Dale's a great loyal friend.
Yes.
He'll do anything for you.
Stand up guy.
He'll also never let you forget that he did used to play football.
Used to play sports and remind you of all the times he, in his mind, saved you from getting beaten up or got you that cool deal. Dale sees himself as maybe a little bit of a badass, even though
he's the hero of the group.
He definitely rolls his sleeves up of his cool black t-shirt that he wears every day and never washes.
For sure.
Much
like a Pantera shirt.
There we go.
Maybe
Perfect.
not cool enough,
Maybe
too
not.
nerdy for Pantera, but something along those lines.
Yeah, I like it. This is great. Okay, cool. Maybe this could be outside Chicago, and it's a Chicago Blackhawks shirt that he wears.
Oh, it's perfect in the 90s.
There we go. That's
Jeremy
right.
Renick.
Okay. And hey, was Chris Chelios later, or was he late 90s?
Oh, gosh, I can't remember that much. I hated the Blackhawks because I was a Sabres fan, so we hated everyone.
As is tradition in Buffalo. Okay, good. So, all right. I love this. Tadpole, Dale, and Brian just living the high life. Think they've got it all figured out. You know, endless days in the basement turn into fun nights. And how these kids don't have diabetes, we don't know. That's a big conspiracy we'll figure out later. Where did it all come from? What are they putting in our food now? But then it was all about video games and having a great time. And so, right, let's say, I mean, now knowing these three, it's got to be Dale's older brother, who maybe like is the on the football team, let's say, and you know, get a couple years older, or was maybe got kicked off or fighting, something like that. You know, he crashes their party one night with a 6-pack of beer and a bunch of videos as they're like, "Get out of here, Robbie! Like, we don't want whatever you've got. We're hanging out here playing video games. Take your stupid movies elsewhere." And he's like, "Nah, I'm your bigger brother. I gotta do you a solid, and show you these things." So he's bringing the old porn with him.
Take this video to your nerdy friends and pop it in before you hit you turn the Super Nintendo on.
Right. Play Atari tonight until you pass out. Until they're like, "All right, well, my brother did it. All right," maybe they're a little resistant. All right, whatever. But I'm playing next after we check whatever the heck this is. It just says tax movie on it. It's all scribbled out. This sounds stupid. It's probably the wrong film. They put it in right away. Fully naked lady, and all of them are like, "What?" Like, mind blown.
Yeah, instantly. Lock the door. Make sure your mom's not home.
Right. "Oh my God, should we be seeing this?" Tadpole's like, "I feel sick. I'm nauseous." Grabs his stomach, reaches for his inhaler, and then and meanwhile, Dale.
The camera pan across the boys, and then you see Tadpole just
right, trying to just remember how to stand up or whatnot. Dale's trying to act cool about it, but then, turns his head upside down. "What's going on down there? That looks different." So they're having an important moment in every young man's life where they realize the realities of the world, and maybe they're more interesting than video games.
For this one moment, there might be something else. "Are you gonna fix my pipes? It's awfully wet down there."
Right, exactly. Is this gonna teach us how to fix washing machines? I don't think so, Tadpole. I think we're going beyond washing machines to something else, a different kind of machine. So this is great. And so maybe it's just like the end of this movie. It's something, his brother ripped off the TV quickly or recorded over something, hid it for a while, didn't need it anymore. So maybe it's like a 2-minute long movie.
And then it goes back to like some college basketball game after that or something. Right back to like Duke
happened?
Versus Chapel Hill.
Right, exactly. And they rewind it, watch it again, watch it again. And so this party is crashed by Brian's mom, who comes home. "Oh, what are you boys doing?" They all freak out. Tadpole passes out. Dale throws his shoe into the TV that knocks it over. "What's going on down there, boys?" "Nothing." They all yell in unison. And then
slamming the eject button.
Right, exactly. Throws it out the window.
Turn to channel 3 so we can put the Super Nintendo on. Put it channel 3.
Quick. Chucks the video out the window. Sits in the woods. All of them sweating. As the mom walks down to an eerily now quiet basement with a bunch of heavy breathing young boys who are, "Yes, thanks a lot, Mrs. Young," or whatever Brian's last name is. "We're fine."
For anyone wondering about that Channel 3 reference,
yeah,
God bless your young hearts. But early on back in the 1900s, when you wanted to watch a movie or play video games, you'd have to turn your TV to a special channel so that the signal from your VCR or Super Nintendo could come through on the TV.
That's it.
You didn't have an input button. So there you go.
I remember.
If you don't know, be glad. And if you do, exactly. I'm right there with you.
That's right. Oh, man. So, all right, cool. So this is great. So that's kind of like the setup. That's the first, 5-10 minutes of the movie is what we just kind of ran through. And let's say that Tadpole and Dale zip home, and Brian, gathers himself, comes upstairs to see his mom, who's now the company's gone, kind of sitting at the table, a little quiet, looking at a stack of bills and mail and all this stuff. And, how was your day, Mom? Oh, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. And Brian's kind of like, worry about what? I was just asking about your day. Maybe cluing in on some stuff, and takes a peek down at the kitchen table and sees a lot of overdue
Final
notices.
notice.
Exactly. All that stuff. And his mom scoots outside to have a cigarette. And she's like, don't worry about it. Go play your game, or go. If you could help me with the laundry in a minute, that would be great. I see you step outside, clearly stressed out, exasperated. And so Brian takes a second to sift through some of the mail and sees the big final notice from the bank saying they owe, $10,000, let's say, which is a lot of money anytime, but certainly in the early 90s, a ton of money in, back overdue mortgages or, payments for their house, let's say. So big deal. And he looks down and sees they have like a month from that day to get it before they're booted out on the streets.
Yeah, there's a lot of confusing numbers.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
Eviction date is not confusing.
Date right at the bottom, unless $10,000
that's
paid.
like a month from now.
Right. And so the deck, and it's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. So immediately zoom back in, pour in a distant memory, even though he has more questions than answers, as we all did.
It's still a distraction.
Now, right, a happy distraction in his mind, but realizes, oh man, there's probably bigger things I should be thinking about that I also didn't know about. So big day for Brian. High, low, big old roller coaster for him. So he just goes, starts folding laundry like a good little kid would. And his mom comes back. He asks her maybe more a little about it, and she doesn't admit to anything. Just gets kind of stressed out. And oh, Brian, don't you worry about it. We'll figure it all out. I've got it all under control. It'll be fine. And then May breaks down and cried, and she's like, I'm just gonna go to bed. And Brian's like, holy crap, she has no way of paying this. She works all the time. I'm just a kid. What can I do? And so we're presented with this need of Brian's that he's got to do something, got to figure out how he can help contribute to the house more. Can he get a job? Is that gonna $10,000 in a month? I don't know what kind of job he can get. And so maybe he, next day meeting with his buddies, trying to find the tape in the bushes outside his house at the end of school.
Maybe if I just watch this a couple more times.
Around, this will all be fine. Let's put this in, and then we'll play some games. He's kind of telling Tadpole and Dale this. Dale's half listening. Tadpole's intently listening. And they kind of run through the obvious. I could get a job. Tadpole's like, $10,000 in a month. What are you going to become? A lawyer? A doctor? You can't get that kind of money from, throwing papers at people's doors.
Yes.
That's
every door in the world. You have to go into the city.
Right.
But.
Okay.
Dale.
Yes.
Dale's the one that brought us this movie the first time.
Right.
And he's like, I think I got something that might help.
Okay.
And they're like, I mean, we don't need, but
Come on,
maybe,
Dale. Right.
But
No
like,
more
my mom's
porn.
home. We can't watch another one right now. And he's like, no, I just got this new game's coming out. It's at the arcade.
Okay.
It's called the best game that ever came out in the 90s, Street Fighter 2.
Street Fighter 2.
So much nostalgia. Street Fighter 2. And he's like, yeah, big deal. Like, video games are a player in every city. Huh. Okay. And the grand prize is $10,000 if you win. So I think we need to spend money to make money, and we need to get ourselves to the arcade and get you that grand prize. Like, all we do is play video games anyways, right? Like, does that...
I like it.
Is that fair?
This is perfect. So this is great. So got it. So video games are gonna, what they all do, and now, fortunately, it seems like it might actually be valuable.
I mean, it's probably like I want that to be like kind of a bigger reveal, like, but because we're like we've learned about this problem. He's going to lose his house, but yeah, like
it could happen that way. It could also even happen with like him picking up the paper and looking at like wanted ads, and there's nothing there, and he kind of throws it down, and then Dale, like, the wind blows. Page or two of the paper out, and this big half-page ad.
Remember that game I kicked your ass at when we were at the arcade?
Look, guys, this is it. And it's staring in their face, this big ad for Capcom presents Street Fighter 2 release tournament, top prize $10,000 or whatever, something like that. So yeah, so it could kind of fall in their laps a little bit as you're looking for jobs in that same paper, an ad for this tournament that, what do you know, has the exact amount of money they need to get there. So
it's a movie,
right? It's a movie. Things have to happen. There's a reason the movie was made, and, and you're looking at it. So they feel good about it, and then that's what they start doing now. So they're gonna start. It's like, go on all the couch cushions and in between the seats in the car and grab as many quarters as they can, and after school start heading to the arcade to play Street Fighter. And of course, Brian's gifted in all these things. He's great at video games. So, even though Dale is trash talking him, like, quickly beats Dale, starts figuring it out, start talking to other players in the arcade about, if you played this game, what are the tips, what are the tricks, all that stuff. Starts sources more information so that he can get better faster, because he only has a couple weeks to become an expert.
If you live this life with me, you know that he's looking for a Game Pro magazine or EGM.
That's right.
To look for what are the moves. So of course he doesn't want to go spend the money on it, but if we go down to the store, we can just flip through and grab the codes for Ryu and Guile and E Honda or something. Let's get some good moves.
And how about that? How about this? We can introduce another part of this story. So the store they go to get all these magazines is Blockbuster. Blockbuster had magazines back, certainly game guides back in the day. I remember getting a few,
especially for a blockbuster like Street Fighter 2. That was the best game ever made.
So maybe they go there, and the girl behind the counter, pretty girl, kind of scared at first to talk to her, but on this trip, just grab the magazines and go. But everyone's struck by, who was that girl behind the thing? I don't know. Must be new, but let's get back to the arcade. Tadpole, you read while I walk. You can piggyback on me. Tell me what I'm doing here. What are the codes? What are the combos? Let's do this thing. So Brian's locked in. Well, now clearly again, Dale's brain has been rewired by the porn experience, and now every girl he sees, he suddenly is paying attention to for some reason he can't quite explain yet, but it's happening. And again, Tadpole's just trying not to have an asthma attack, but right, and just eating sandwiches that are in his pocket as he's reading all these combo codes. So there's a series of just them, kind of be a montage maybe of them training. Things are going well, yada yada. Perhaps at this point or soon, because they got to kind of have some distraction. Things can't work. Can't just be good, win, and get the $10,000. That's a boring movie. We've got to
get the 10,000.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. We'll see what happens when we get there.
You don't know that yet.
That's right. Nobody knows. But the so let's say Dale's brother comes back to the picture and he's like, "All right, guys, you wore that one tape down." Beyond recognition, and Tadpole and Brian are like, "What do you mean? We watched it just a couple times." And Dale's in the corner I may have found it and watched it a bit myself, guys. Brian's like, "That tape's gone, but I don't blame you. I almost did the same thing when I was your age. So I got some more for you." And Robbie just throws a bunch of tapes into their basement and is like, "All right, I got to get out of here." Whatever. Robbie's this nice kind of guardian angel, but
he can drive. He's got a car, so he brings Dale by.
That's it.
And as he's leaving, he's like, "Hey, Brian, your mom said that she ordered a pizza, but she's got to go into work late tonight. So I assume I know what you guys will be doing. Just don't be gross." So they just had the night given to them, and Dale's older brother Robbie.
Yes, Robbie
has just given them a whole bunch more blank tax, boring science movie tapes for the old VHS machine.
Right.
Of course, we should be practicing Street Fighter, but there's also
new tapes.
Yeah,
let's
biological
see.
needs.
Let's just see what
let's
this
see
one's
if they
about.
even are.
See if they're longer than 2 minutes. And so they watch a couple of them. And, Brian mostly,
what do they see on those movies, Harrison?
Let's talk about what could happen. Right. We've got Home Invasion 88. We've got two guys and one broken septic tank. We've got, what are some of the names here? We've got, my tire's flat just like my dreams, or
Daryl does Dallas, the girl.
right, exactly. Or Daryl does Des Moines. They couldn't get, Dallas has been taken over by Debbie.
Sure.
Smaller market for Daryl. Right, a bunch of that one didn't really get everyone excited like some of the other ones did. So they're watching a bunch of these movies, and maybe they get to like one at the bottom that was covered by part of the box, or I don't know.
All right, last one, guys. Last one.
All right, Brian the whole time is barely looking up from his game guide. He's locked in, and so they play this one, and Tadpole and Dale are watching it, and then Tadpole, says "Holy shit!" and his Diet Coke flies out of his nose, and his glasses fall off his head, and he's like, starts choking, and they're like, "Oh God, Dale, what'd you do? Like this poor kid, we can't keep showing Tadpole the stuff. He's gonna have a heart attack." And Tadpole's like, "No, you idiots! I'm not choking. I'm having a heart attack." That girl, that's the girl from Blockbuster. And so they notice in this...
Rewind that.
Yeah, right.
Oh, no, you went too far. You can't go frame by frame.
Right, exactly.
And when you pause it, the scr's like jiggling and
exactly
stuff.
Right. The VCR is getting hot. Exactly. So they see... So they pause it, right, as it's exactly kind of in between frames of that gray and black bar in the middle of it. But they can see that, like, through the makeup and the hair and all this stuff, like, oh my gosh, that does look like the girl from Blockbuster. And, like, maybe, like, Dale and Talbot are kind of like, oh, weird. Like, we know her. And Brian's maybe more quiet of, like, oh my gosh, like, what? Like, people we know or in our town are doing porn, and they're kind of like, yeah, like it's everywhere. Brian, come on, man, don't be weird about it. But he's kind of drawn to it in maybe a different way than Dale and Tadpole are, and just remembers seeing her in the store and all that stuff. So they both kind of have different reactions to it. But she's in there. She's in a porn. Holy crap, we got to go back to this store to get more game guides, or maybe they go there every weekend anyway to get movies and stuff. Like, what are we going to do the next time we go? So that is introduced as
they're
huge
definitely
curveball.
I know what they're going to do because I was a guy that had friends too. Right? So Brian's got to go to the store. He's got to get the updated. It's probably not updated, but at that stage in your life, you're like addicted. You got to play this video game. You got to win $10,000. You got to see if there's any new combos that came out. You got to check the new magazine just came out. So we have to go to the store.
Right.
And Dale and of course, Tadpole already gasping. But Dale's like, hey, when I played sports, I would talk to any girl I wanted to, and usually I could talk them into going on a date with me.
That's right.
I think, Brian, you should go talk to that girl and see if you can go on a date with her. And he's like, I don't have time for this, man. Right. Like, I don't even know what to say to her. We saw everything she has.
Right, exactly right. It's all about good competence. You mean confidence? That's what I said. All right, Dale, whatever. Right, but so they go to the store, and maybe... Right, Tadpole is obviously terrified. Dale's talking a big game, but he maybe also is intimidated. But Brian doesn't have time for that. He's like, my house is on the line. My life is on the line. Like, if I have to go talk to this girl to get this magazine, cool, whatever. Like, I'll do that. And so goes up and is very kind of disinterested in her. And maybe she remembers them from the last time. And it's kind of maybe immediately obvious that, like, a lot of the people that come in there... hang out with her, try to talk to her, try to hit on her and stuff.
She's attractive.
Right. She's pretty girl. But Brian's not doing that. He's just like, yeah, look, great. Like, I don't, and maybe probably slips up a couple times. Like, look, I don't care what you do on your free time or while you're here. Yeah. All I need to do right now is process this so I can, here's the money. We need to get out of here. We have stuff to do. And she's like, why are you guys being weird? And he's like, no reason. We're not being weird at all. And then maybe Dale pops up and he's like, Right, we're not imagining you naked, or we're not doing anything at all like that. We're just here trying to buy my friend this magazine.
This is VHS porn. Like, we can't know for sure.
That's true.
That it was that girl.
Right. And maybe
in the
that's
movie.
what's happening. Dale and Tapple are like squinting behind Brian, looking at her, like putting their hands up as if she was in a TV screen, trying to frame her out. And she's like, "What is going on?" And maybe she assumes everyone that walks in has seen her in this porn, and so when they don't, it's a happy surprise. So maybe she's playing into it a little bit. She can have fun with it a bit. And you know, says things like, "Any cool movies you guys have watched recently? Anything that surprised you?" And Tadpole's gum falls out of his mouth or comes out his nose again or whatever. Where's my inhaler? He inhales the cap, it's still on, and he starts choking, and Dale's like, "Not again," and hit out of his bag. So so they're just having Dale and Tadpole are having a panic attack exchange behind Brian, who's like, "I want to get out of here. Like, look, like, it's a free country, you can do whatever you want, but in the next 30 seconds, can you just take my money and I want to leave?" And he's like, "All right, whatever." And so they go, but there's that exchange that happens, and you know, Brian's cooler than he's ever been by being disinterested, which that's not a great lesson, but sometimes it works, fellas.
Yeah, it's the sad truth. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so at this point they leave, but maybe she watches Brian go out the door with the friends, and knowing they'll be back, you know, next week to rent some other game or get the next magazine and stuff.
Can we make her like so they're leaving, the store's pretty empty, which is weird for a Blockbuster in the 90s.
Yes.
But she's like, you know, "Hey, I know you've been really studying up on this Street Fighter game."
Ooh, there we go.
I was gonna go to the arcade. Sometimes I go there after work and just burn a few quarters. Could you show me how to play?
Aha! So she hits on him a little bit, and he's like, you know, beaten. Tadpole can't play. He's smoked Dale. He's beaten pretty much everyone else in the arcade at this point. And Dale's like, "Psh, you can't beat Brian. Nobody can beat Brian. He's beaten the whole arcade."
Yes.
And she's like, "Well, he hasn't played me yet. So, like, challenge him. This is fun." Perfect. So
Tomorrow,
yeah, I love
4
that.
o'clock. I'll see
All
you
right,
there.
I'll be there.
It's not a date.
Right, exactly. And Dale and Brian walk out, and Tadpole's still just standing there stunned, and Dale's gonna grab him and drag him out. I like Tadpole. I see
Tadpole's
Tadpole.
great.
Tadpole. If we could take Rick Moranis back in time and make him young, he could be Tadpole. Oh my gosh. Okay. Cool. So, all right. Now, so next day at the arcade, and this can be a little montagey too of like them playing, and what she beats him, or what do you think? What happens?
Yeah, I think they're playing. She's kind of a button jammer. If you played Street Fighter in your life, you know that there are people that play the game like it's a religion, and there are button jammers, and they suck. Especially because sometimes they beat you.
Right.
And she's jamming the buttons. She might have picked Chun-Li at first because she was one of the only female characters in the game.
Right.
But then she goes to Ryu or Ken, and she's like, you know, everybody's like, Ken's the best. So she picks Ken, and she's button jamming, and she pulls out like Ken's ultimate combo, which doesn't exist yet in Street Fighter 2, I know, but she pulls out this sick combo, and it's the first time Brian like counters it, like he blocks it. He is able to handle this combo, which has only been thrown at him a few times on purpose,
right?
And it always sets him back and almost costs him like a quarter of his life. And this time he blocks it. He's like, wait a minute.
Right.
What'd you just do? Can you do that again? That's something I need to work on.
Nice.
And she's like, I don't know how I did it. She's just hitting buttons, so they're kind of messing around, but like
getting closer. He's standing behind her. She's standing behind him at the arcade.
Do this do this twice. Just do up and to the right and just hit the button twice.
Spooning each other. I like this. Okay, I see it. And the friends are like, "What's happening to Brian?"
And what he's going through in his head, we don't know, but it looks like he's going through, I'm learning how to be the master of this game, and it's imperative because I've only got like 19 days left in my house before I don't know what's going to happen to my mom.
Exactly.
But I really need to be the best Street Fighter. The tournament's in
2 weeks? A week?
A week?
At this point?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's coming right up.
Okay, so you got a week left. I like this.
And maybe he mentions it. She's like, why are you so obsessed with this game?
Yes,
And he's
exactly.
like, and he looks at Dale, and Dale's like, you might as well tell her, like,
Right, she's in now. She's part of the group. I'm like, what? Part of the group?
she almost beat you, man.
Right, exactly. She may be the leader of the group.
So, and
like
then
that.
he's like, look, you know, I live with my mom. It's kind of rough. It looks like we're probably going to lose our house, but there's a Street Fighter tournament, and I need to win it so that I can earn enough money so that we can keep our house.
Live, right? Keep living in our house. And she's like, holy crap, that's super intense. And maybe at that moment she's like, I've had to make decisions that were tough too. A lot of them more recently than I ever thought I'd make. So I get it. And like, right. So she's letting her guard down a little bit, while they're talking about this. This is perfect. I love it. Okay. And maybe what happens is, so we were a week away. Tension here, like up until this point, it's Brian and Dale and Tadpole playing each other and having a gas at the arcade. Now this woman who we haven't given her a name yet, we should probably call her something.
Let's give her a name.
Okay. You're best at this.
Her name is the 90s, so we can't
90s.
get too off the cuff, but
Right.
But it's got to be edgy. She's
Okay.
we know what she's done.
That's right.
Her name is Alex. Alex is okay, but
That's okay. Yeah.
Andrea.
Okay. Oh, I love that.
Andrea.
I love that. Perfect.
Her name's
Great 90s
Andrea.
name. Okay. Cool. So now he's
all night Andrea. In certain circles.
That's right. Yeah, when the credits roll, that's what she's known as. But in the real world, it's just
That's
Andrea.
not on her Blockbuster tag.
Right. It just says Andrea.
They don't call her all night.
Right. And she's like 19 and very girl next door pretty and stuff, which I hope that's what everyone's imagining. Okay, cool. So right, so was playing with his friends. Now Andrew's in the picture, and she's like better than Dale and Tad. So now she's playing with him a ton. So Dale and Tad kind of feel like, oh, what's going on here? It's important for Brian, but like all this time we spent together, like there's now a girl's gonna come ruin it. It's just been the three of us forever. So they'll have a little bit of that going on. But again, Brian is now like, he was laser focused on, I gotta save my house, and Andrew is helping him, and so now he's like mixing like kind of feelings for this girl. This girl also like has a second life I don't even know anything about, and it's all a distraction from what I'm supposed to be doing.
He hasn't asked her about the porn
not yet. Right,
he hasn't brought it up. She hasn't brought it up.
And maybe like, and that could be a great moment where like they're maybe just hanging out one day, and one of the other two slips up and just like mentions it somehow, of like, you know, maybe they're talking about like, here we go. So they're just talking, like, we're looking at magazines or watching a movie or whatever, all four of them, and looking at a review of the newest Indiana Jones or something. And they're like, man, I wonder, like, Harrison Ford was a carpenter, and then he just became like, you know, Harrison Ford. Like, how do you get into the movies? And Andrew's like, I know, I want to know that too. And maybe Tadpole or Dale is like, what do you mean you are in the movies?
Yep, perfect.
And Brian's like, what do you? And they're all like, oh shit. And she's like, what are you talking about? And then everyone's like freezes, don't know what to do. Tadpole passes out. Dale jumps through the window himself in the basement. And so it's just Brian there being like, I didn't know what to tell you. I mean, like, it really doesn't matter. We don't care. And she like looks around. She's like, oh my God. And so she knows they know. And she just like runs away and leaves. So, and maybe this is like a night or two before, like the tournament.
The tournament, yeah.
Right. So like where no distraction should be showing up. Of course, we're basically lying, or at least not revealing the whole truth about what they know about her. And
yeah, this is great.
Stuff.
Like a Dark Night of the Soul early.
There we go. A little earlier, but I think where it has to happen here makes sense. And then and so Brian chases after her, and she's, you know, accusing him, like, did you know? Is that why you came into the store? You were trying to like just like
you
every
just
other
thought
guy.
I would. You just thought I'd give it all away.
Right, exactly.
All night,
Right,
Andrea.
right. Everyone
can't
always
outlive it.
And Brian's like, no. Like you asked me to go play video games, remember? And she's like, oh yeah, I guess I did. And so it's a thing, but it's not. It doesn't derail everything, and that allows Andrea to be like, I want to be done with it. Like I just needed to do it because I needed money. Like I told you, I was like, this is how a lot of girls I know, this is where they start. I want to be in movies forever. I didn't mean working at Blockbuster. I meant being in movies. And, this is a casting call. I didn't really know what it was. And one thing led to another. And, like this is, but again, I think this is my way in. It's the best chance I've got right now. And so she's kind of.
And at this point, he's like starting to kind of realize that she's more than just a good Street Fighter player to him.
Right.
And things are mending, and he starts, how when you're watching a movie and you realize like two people are kind of falling in love.
For sure.
But that's broken up when she then continues to go on, and she's like, I gotta let you know, there's a convention happening the same day as the Street Fighter tournament that you're going to.
Yeah.
It's, I assume you don't know about it. It's called Pornopalooza.
And he's like, what a what? Like, what do you mean? What happens? You can't be there? And he kind of has a mini freak out. And she's like, look, like, I really like you. I don't need to do this anymore. I already agreed to this. Like, maybe we can, maybe there's another way. Like, maybe she's like, you inspired me doing the things your way. And maybe I don't need to do this. And it's not what I thought it was. And all that stuff. So she's kind of softly promising to Brian, like, this is my last thing. I've already committed to it, but I'll walk away after Pornopalooza. They'll off into the sunset, and
I got to be there, make some appearances, sign some autographs. I'll make a few bucks on it.
Right, exactly.
It's like it's in a convention center, so I'm like nothing.
Right,
terrible
nothing crazy. Right, exactly. And so he kind of comes to terms with it at that time, and is like, all right, fine, then let's keep getting ready for Arcade-a-thon. Or whatever he's doing.
Arcade-a-thon, Pornopalooza, same convention center.
Just one convention center outside of Chicago in this fun little town.
One events manager having a really good show that one.
Nailed it, exactly. We got a bunch of 18-year-old and 17-year-old boys and a bunch of 45-year-old men and scantily-clad women all in the same place. What could go wrong?
It's more amazing than reptile boy found its jump.
More reputation. Now you're playing with power. Superpower.
The following commercials are a promotion for the Beer Me That Movie podcast, Juicy Bits.
Are you ready for the ultimate gaming showdown? Get ready to battle it out at the Fighters Fury Tournament.
Ready for the steamiest event of the summer. Join us at Pornopalooza, happening on June 13th at the Crosstown Convention Center.
Happening on June 13th at the Crosstown Convention Center.
Explore the latest and greatest in adult entertainment. Live performances, exclusive screenings, and more.
Compete against the best gamers in town for the epic prize of $10,000.
It's the ultimate celebration of sensuality and seduction.
Don't miss out on the action-packed event of the year. Be there or be square.
On a night you won't forget.
Exactly right. Oh boy. Okay. So what else do we need to know? So we're going to get to the arcade event. Pornopalooza is going to happen. Shit's going to get wild. Do we need to tie anything up? What else do we need to
I think we have to go into this knowing that Brian and Andrea are becoming more of an item. They're learning about each other, but it's becoming 100%. More clear that there's sort of a love interest building here.
Oh yeah.
Tad and Dale. There was a little bit of resentment when Andrea came into the picture. You've seen Stranger Things. You know what happened when Michael and Eleven got together for a little bit, but they patched things up. But Brian's mom, she doesn't know about this tournament.
Correct. Yeah. Maybe she doesn't, or the boys think she doesn't, and she hasn't until this point. But maybe she finds the article in their room that's been circled, and the Street Fighter magazines all over the house and stuff, and is maybe piecing things together. I don't know.
I like that. She sees a couple, and then we kind of start this final act and day. The boys come over with Andrea, who's met Brian's mom a little bit now, and they're like, "Yeah, we're going into the city to go. We're gonna go watch the new Indiana Jones movie, Mom."
Right.
So and she's like, "Well, good luck, honey. I mean, have fun, honey."
Right. Okay, cool. And maybe Brian's mom is like, Andrew, you look so familiar. And the boys are like, oh my God. And she's like,
Do you work at Blockbuster?
Right. Right. That's what it is. Blockbuster. Yeah, Mom. You saw her at Blockbuster.
Yeah, of
She works at
course,
Blockbuster.
yeah.
I don't know if that was it. It was, Mom. We gotta go. Bye. And Brian's like, oh my God. And everyone's like, I think your mom saw Andrea's tape. She's like,
No, she's got a battery-powered toothbrush. She brushes her teeth all night.
Woo! That's right. Use those jacuzzi jets. Okay, so all right, this is great. So they're leaving under the guys that go into the movies to go do to go win all this money at the arcade thing, and then again Andrea has to wave and sign some foreheads or whatever the hell she's got to do at.
And Brian's kind of pumped. He's like he's
right.
Maybe got his first like proper girlfriend, even though she was in porn.
But who cares?
But like
he doesn't care.
Yeah, he understands the circumstance and he doesn't judge her for it. He's got Dale and Tad, like his good buddies that have kind of helped him train, and they're here to watch him participate.
Yes.
And they take the horrible metro service to get to this convention center, and they're getting off, and Tad's quizzing Brian. He's like, show me what is a tiger uppercut,
right?
What is shoryuken, and Brian's just like rattling off the combos for everything. And as they walk into the convention center, everybody's feeling like bright and lifted and everything.
This. Okay.
And Brian's like, man, I think I got a chance at this. Greasy, shady character just pops right out of nowhere.
Yep.
And puts his arm around Andrew, and he's like, come on, we're late. Yep. We got to get you to your place. And he just like pulls her right away from Brian.
Right.
Without really a chance to say anything. She just looks back and she's like, I good luck, Brian. I'll see you.
I'm sorry. Right. And he gets pulled. Yeah, I love that perfect. And he's like what
a
the
gut
heck?
Punch.
Right. It's like, I thought she'd have time before she had to do stuff to watch the first couple rounds. Like, what are we going to do? And that's also kind of in that moment, Brian's like, why did he take her away like that? Like, he's kind of questioning some things, and maybe the idea of the porn industry versus the reality is starting to pop up a little bit, where it's not this lovely industry full of opportunity, but a lot of shady people trying to make a quick buck, that aren't doing most of the work. So that he kind of gets a glimpse of that. But Dale and Tad are like, dude, like, she's fine. You're gonna meet up afterwards. Like, everything's great. Like don't worry about it. But Brian obviously is like a little bit distracted. But he's got. So how many? Should there be like 3 rounds to this? Like, let's talk about the tournament a little bit and kind of like what he has to do to get to the final.
So. Not that this is what the movie's about, but it's fun.
It is fun.
So we're gonna say that there was there's a trial stage where there's just a bunch of Street Fighter arcade machines, and you have to be able to beat. There was a boss in Street Fighter 2 called Sagat. That was computer controlled until eventually you could control him yourself when Special Championship Edition came out on Sega Genesis. But
good to know, John. Thank you.
But so anyways, like, to enter the tournament, you have to put 1 quarter in, and you have to be able to beat Sagat. And, for Brian, this is pretty easy, but it keeps like the Tads out of the tournament for just wasting space. So this takes, like, they give you like a deli ticket number, and this takes a little bit of time. So they got a little bit of time, and then Brian's number calls and he beats Sagat, and then there's like an hour or so afterwards where they have to wait and get like the first 60 players, and then from there it's just like tournament, random draw, no one's seeded, and it's single elimination, which is deadly, and you hate it, but it's single elimination, just like playing Street Fighter. There's no second chances, so you got to win, and then you're in the finals. So 3 victories, and you're in the finals for $10,000, best of 1 all the way up through.
Ooh, okay, all right, cool. So he's got a bit of a journey.
I just made that up. I feel like you making up movie ideas. Just give me video game stuff.
I love it. Let's do this. Let's have John sponsor a tournament. This is amazing. So he's got a little bit of work ahead of him to get to the final stage. So obviously at the same time, we have Andrea a room or a conference hall away or whatever, also like going through her whole thing where she's like meeting with fans and signing videotape covers or again whatever. But also like there's other producers there and so on. And as a performer will say at these conferences, like, you're hoping you're seen by the next big whatever and can kind of make it further in your career at one of these things. And again, like at the time, Andrea's like, I'm done. I'm just here to fulfill the commitment I already made. But starts getting a lot of attention, and her line to her booth is longer than a lot of the other ones. So now more producers give her some attention and stuff. And so she's getting cornered by a couple people, promising her a lot of things. And her dream of like, I want to be a movie star starts floating back to the top of her head. And Brian and what he's doing starts kind of drifting a little bit into the background. And so she kind of just throws herself into the moment and is now having all these conversations about, right, like, what do you mean? What do you offer? What's that like? And they're all promising her, yeah, you'll be the next Marilyn Monroe or whatever. And she's like, oh, this is it. Like, this might be my shot. Won't Brian be so excited and happy for me? Is kind of her.
Debbie does Dallas. Andrea does Arizona.
The whole state. Forget a city. Are you ready? Bring your chapstick.
Because it's dry there.
That's all. That's it. It's just the air. So... Okay, this is great. So yeah, so she's right in the moment and kind of losing her path and getting just swept away in what's happening a little bit as Brian is battling for his home and his life and all this other stuff.
But he gets easily, he passes like the trial segment, and then they're like, oh, there's like 30, probably gonna take 30 more kids before we get enough people.
Right.
We got Wood Gamers, Jolt Cola, and Doritos probably sponsored this, so go grab some chips and stuff. And at that point, Dale, of course, is like, hey, it's like, we need to sneak into Pornopalooza to go see your girlfriend.
To go see Andrea, right. Oh, I'm sure that's what you want to do with Dale.
Check some things out over there.
Exactly right. I snuck a
They've got these things called pocket, but no, anyway.
There's no photography, but I think I can get away with it if I take off the flash. So Dale's got his whole horribly contrived mission in his head. But they try to go in the entrance, costs money. That doesn't work, so they just kind of sneak in, maybe through the back of the conference center or whatever. They get in there
through the service entrance.
That's right. And they're bumping into a bunch of people. And what are you kids doing here? We're not kids. We're and maybe this is maybe they go stumbling around at some booth and some guy's like, what are you kids doing here? Like, you probably shouldn't be in here, right? I'm like, no, we're in the video game industry. And the guy's like, what? Like, well, I'm a big movie producer. I don't know much about that, though, but I see next door it's crammed with people. Like, what do you got? And Brian the whole time's like kind of distracted, looking around for Andrea. And to get this guy off him, he maybe throws out like a Hail Mary idea of like, yeah, man, look, if you want to be the guy that's on the next big thing, why don't you, I don't know, invent like interactive porn or something, just like a video game.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, what? Can you do that? And Brian's like, yeah, you can do it. Of course. And then Dale's like, yeah, hey, Brian's not a bad idea. And so it's kind of like an off the cuff thought that he has, but this guy is like clearly smitten, and then they like zip away from him pretty quickly. So they standing there being like, holy shit, can I do video game porn? So yeah, he's just like, video games and porn, and then says it maybe quieter, like, oh, video games and porn, because he's not sure if this is a great idea or not, but also if it's a great idea, doesn't want the dude in the booth next to him to be like, what did keep that to yourself? Right. So, but at that point, Brian and gang are like, this guy's distracted. Let's get the heck out of here. Let's find Andrew. So they zip through the convention center and have to pull Dale away from booth after booth.
Lots of interesting stuff here, guys. We should check it out.
Right. Tad's having mini heart attacks. His eyes are the size of dinner plates, and drool is running down his face. So, yeah, but Brian almost sees none of it, and just blinders on, trying to find Andrea. Meanwhile, Dale and Tad might be having the best day of their entire lives, and they're completely overwhelmed. And so let's say, so they find her eventually, it's not a huge convention center. And they've like at a table with creepy, shady porn producer guy next to her, and she's signing VHS tapes or whatever. Longest line there. Maybe that's how they see her.
Yep.
Kind of like, what's this? What's the line for the bathroom? No. Look who's at that table.
Holy cow, it's Andrew's
Right.
table.
Oh my gosh. Like, and Brian has like oh boy, maybe this is, and that like raises the stakes a little bit. Is maybe he didn't realize quite what he was asking her to leave. All he saw was the end result and her unhappy with her life, or feeling like she was, a couple of years ago thought this was a good path to becoming a legitimate actress, but now is just stuck in this world. But clearly has lots of fans. And so they see her go up to maybe like she sees them and is able to take like a 2-minute break or something and go say hi. And Brian is still locked in on the idea of like this is Andrea's last hurrah, but we all know as the audience now that like Andrea's definitely having second thoughts, and so they meet and like clash. They like he's expecting her to be like halfway out the door, and she's like, "Isn't this amazing? Look at all these people."
Yes, two
Okay.
different mindsets
Yeah.
since the start of the show, the porn convention show, where Brian's like, are you almost done?
Pornpalooza.
Can you come watch? Like
Right,
I made
right.
it through the trials. I've got 2 more rounds, and then I'm going to be in the finals. And she's like, I've got so many opportunities coming at me for doing this show. There's been people talking about signing with an agent and maybe going out to Hollywood and really
Right.
advancing my career. And it's
And Brian's like, "What? Oh my gosh!" Like he's torn, right? Because he likes Andrea, doesn't like that she's unhappy doing porn, but now sees her kind of happy again, and he's obviously got the world on his shoulders, and but they're also young kids, so he's probably not thinking about this like a mature person. He's probably just like, "But what our plans, and how could you do this to me? Like I'm over next door trying to save my house, and you're here talking about flying in jets to Los Angeles to still do this?" Like,
yeah, and I think at this moment he really has to come to grips with the fact that like she's in porn, and I can't speak for every guy, but I'd imagine the majority of us wouldn't love our partners to be making a living in porn. Like you don't date the stripper. That's probably a bumper sticker.
it is.
So like he and now like because it wasn't real before. Like she was working at Blockbuster, they were playing video
Right,
games and
that's a
stuff.
good point. It's
And now
real
he's
now.
kind of having to come to grips with like, and he can't think, is this where I want my relationship to go? To your point, Harrison, he's still young. He's just
Right.
mad about this.
Right, exactly. He's just having a emotional, natural reaction of a teen dude. And yeah, but he's got like he doesn't have time to really figure this all out with her right now. Like she's getting pulled back to the booth by shady porn guy, and like Dale and Tad are like, "We gotta go. Like the next round is happening. Like what are you doing? Like we'll see you later, Andrea," and kind of grab Brian, and that's like a shot of her getting pulled back to the booth and him getting pulled back into Arcade-a-thon or whatever.
Dale's like, do you want me to stay here and keep an eye on her?
I can hang out. I think you guys, I'm horrible at video games, but I saw somebody winked at me earlier in a booth, and I think that meant something. Dale's making all the classic mistakes. And no, but Dale gets, maybe Tad pulls them both out of the convention center, and so we're back on the arcade tournament floor, and like Brian's obviously distracted and kind of zoned out, and his whole world feels like it's crashing down, and a little shell shocked, maybe just kind of like just doesn't know what to think. He's dealing with a lot right now.
Yeah, and he needs like this is where Dale is such a great friend because he needs that kind of like Mick coach relationship,
Right,
where
right.
Dale's like, look, Brian, I know this is really heavy right now, but your place is the place that we all hang out, and we've still got a little bit of school left to get through. It's really important that we do this. You've been
Right,
training.
right.
You really need to like zen in, focus, and,
Right.
and do what
There we
Guile
go.
would do.
Right.
But like that little like kind of moment to
I
help
like
try
that.
and refocus Brian.
Yep, squirts a water bottle in his face. That's not water. Is that lube? And I grabbed it off a table next door. Snap out of it, man. Right, smacks him and his hand slides right off his face. It stings my eyes. But yeah, he's trying to get him back into the moment. Exactly. They're going to lose their house, lose the basement where they all hang out, lose their, you lose everything, their whole world. And yeah, so that helps Brian a little bit. And he gets back up and he's ready to go up. I think at the same time on the conference floor, the Pornapalooza floor, Andrea's there too, and maybe she has some kind of moment where like she's 3 or 4 guys in line come up and basically say the same thing to her, like, I love you in
In what, Harrison?
that movie. Did it have a name? Did we name the movie?
I don't know if we ever. But yeah, I loved your work with the twin guys in summer camp.
I think you fix a toaster better than any woman I've ever seen, or whatever.
Yeah, I wish I could deliver you a pizza.
Right, but she's kind of like realizing, maybe has that moment that happens in a lot of industries where like you see the next 10 years of your life in an instant, and you're like, is this what I want? Like, to be just, every 4 months having 100 guys tell me they love me in something that I barely remember doing. Like, is this it? Is this really what I want to be doing? Like, what am I signing up for by agreeing to more of this? So she's having her own kind of like, reality check moment as well a bit. And maybe that long line doesn't look exciting anymore. It looks like a chain, like a ball and chain. Like,
yes, it's starting to turn into work.
Maybe, yeah,
right. But maybe not in this. If this is like a different scene where we left Brian in the video game contest, and we're now looking at Andrea. I think at some point there needs to be. I want there to be a moment where she gets like pushed in, like maybe her agent's like, look, we dug up your contract. You're gonna be doing this new 3-part movie with us out in Hollywood,
right?
And you really need to get your act up. So here, start taking some of these. And he just hands her like a bunch of pills in a Ziploc. You're gonna need to start taking these. We need to get your energy up. We're gonna make you a star. And
right.
like some of the excitement of like, oh, I am a star, just starts to really turn into like. You look around and it's almost like the masks are getting torn off, and you're looking at some of the other porn ladies in the convention, and they're not as bright and shiny as they were when you walked in.
Right, exactly right. They're also, their little baggies are hanging out of their pants or whatever, or their G-strings or what have you. Or it could be shown in a couple of different ways. I think that's great. Right, the masks start to come off, reality starts to set in. It's not all bright and shiny. Which she kind of knew, but for a moment maybe forgot. And so I think at this point, Brian's about to jump on the stage, and maybe she either runs away or does like, I need another bathroom break, and sneaks away. Maybe that's better, to like go kind of support Brian. And so we move back over to the arcade-a-thon, and
quick montage.
Right,
uppercut.
Right. Right, Dad being like, some of that lube's in my cut of my arm, and it really hurts. Dale, help me. And Dale's like, stop crying, and punches him in the other arm. There. Ow, why'd you do that? Well, now your other arm hurts, and you're cut with the lube, and it doesn't hurt as bad, does it? What a good friend.
Brian's like, guys, I'm playing a video game contest to save my house.
Right, what are you doing? Stop goofing around. Stop playing with all this lube.
And he comes with this. He's like, guys, I made it to the championship round. And the rule is you can only pick one of the characters that you've beaten. Oh. So I can't be my normal fighter.
Yeah, it's a curveball,
and twist. He's like, man, I don't like... And they're like, well, we practice with Dulcie and we practice with Ryo. Who do you have that you can... Of course, everyone knows the Street Fighter characters, Harrison.
Yes, they do, yep.
Well, I have to pick between, like, Honda, Blanca, and Vega, like the crappy players that are really niche. They're not crappy, but let's be honest. You don't want to pick them.
No one picks them.
And he's like, I'm going up against M. Bison, or like one of the Uber, like, meta players, if you will, be more modern. Okay. So he's having this kind of, like, crisis of, like, can I do it? And again, there's maybe a moment where now like Tad steps in and explains to him that he's the most talented fighter here. No one practices, you got to do this.
Yep.
And he's getting ready to go up on the stage, or getting ready to like call the announcements. And from Suburbia, Brian from, and he turns, and then he sees Andrea on her bathroom break.
Exactly.
Cut
in the
through.
back, right. Yeah. Smiling and kind of waving. And maybe they have some like line they've said to each other a couple times in the movie that, well, if you're a bird, I'm a bird, but not that, because that's from the Notebook, but like some little,
Really?
Yeah. It says someone been lying to you.
I thought it was about love, but interesting. They perfect.
Right,
When you in Street Fighter, when you beat someone, you don't take any damage. It says perfect.
Perfect, right. So maybe she says that, or TKO me, or whatever. She says some little inside thing, or mouths it, and you can see it, and for a moment he's like, all right, here we go. And it's about to begin, and maybe like that's when like you also see at the same time another scene in Pornapalooza of like her manager or whatever. Where is she? It's been 10 minutes. Looking in the bathroom. All the girls scream, but she's not in there. And they're like, that kid, that video game kid. And so they run next door. And as he's like about to start and feels like, all right, maybe everything's okay. It's all coming together for me. He looks up one last time and sees like Andrea smiling and the producer and like his henchman or whatever coming behind her and just like basically grabbing her by the arms and like scooting her out of the conference center, and he just like frozen.
Yes. He's
staring,
got a big decision.
Huge choice to make. And this is like a great kind of slow-mo moment of like you can see like maybe the zooms in on the Street Fighter thing where it says like 3, 2, 1 fight or whatever, and then you see like the one character move, and then his character not moving, and
still just standing there,
right, standing there bouncing with it, right, ready with his fists up, and it zooms out, and he's not at the.
Ooh, that's a great scene.
Not at the console or whatever anymore, and he's running through the crowd, but it's a huge crowd, and they're kind of like, what's going on? And the announcer, who'll be played by some fun character actor, Woody Harrelson, he'll keep popping up in our movies.
Yeah, that's
it's
cool.
Like, what? Hey, young man, get back here! What are you doing? You're walking away from $10,000 or whatever. And Dale and Tad kind of don't ask questions. They're good friends. They just kind of do a double take. Maybe see Andrea getting pulled away, and are like, maybe Dale's trying to block for Brian so we can get through the crowd.
I play JV football.
Exactly right. And Tad's just fumbling for his inhaler, so he can also keep up, and so they catch up with her as they're like leaving the like getting outside, like leaving the whole conference center, and the kind of two crony porn guys are like have made the decision like Brian's too much of a distraction. Having Andrea here as a distraction, it's bad for business. Like, we're getting out of town tonight. You're going to L.A. And maybe that's like kind of what Brian hears as he walks out of the
yes
of the
and
the
thing. As this is happening, Tad gets kind of further and further behind because he doesn't have the ability to keep up just physically. He's tadpole. And so they get out here, and Brian hears that, and Dale's like, what are we going to do? And they're like pushing her into the car. And then Tad has this moment where he shows up just a minute late, and he's got two like security guards with him. And he's like, those guys, they're kidnapping that girl. They tried to harass me in the bathroom, and then they stole that girl. And so the security guards get out and intervene.
Yes.
And are reaching and grabbing Andrea, and she's like, oh my God, thank you so much. She's like, Brian, I want to be with you.
Right. And it could be as the guards are pulling away the two cronies, they could be like, Andrea, this is it. Like, tell these guys what's actually going on. We didn't do anything. Like, you're throwing your life away. Like, you don't get us out of this situation. You can kiss your, if I go to jail tonight, you can kiss your career in porn goodbye.
Bunch of drugs fall out of his pocket.
Right. Yeah. There you go. Exactly. It's perfect. Yeah, and maybe she just threw him in his face right before the cops got there of like, no, like it's, in some act of defiance. But that's all happening. So like she's sitting there with a choice of like, do I say, no, officer, I want to be with these guys, and throw Brian and his friends under the bus and also, ruin the life she's kind of built, or does she and go become a famous porn person, or does she stick with Brian and she just she just like kind of lets them take him away and it's like like thanks officers, or maybe doesn't even say anything, but so they're taken out of the picture and it's just her and Brian standing there with Tad and Dale in the background.
A little bit of a like a love story moment happens.
Oh yeah, maybe they're a fountain or something.
Because you brought Woody Harrelson into the movie, he pops out and he's like, hey kid, I just want to let you know you forfeit.
Yeah.
the prize money, and you seemed like you were a pretty good player, but it seems like you maybe you won a different way.
Else. Right. So as the audience, we're kind of led to believe that like this is it. This is the prize, even though we all also know, even though maybe we forgot about it in this moment, that like his house is, this does not solve Brian's problems. And so maybe all four of them are sitting by the fountain, kind of outside, hanging out, being kids again, goofing off, push Tad in the fountain, and Dale laughs for a moment and then immediately realizes he might be drowning and pulls him out and tries to give Tad mouth to mouth, but he doesn't need it, and he's karate chopping Dale away, and they're laughing and being kids. And then what's his face from earlier from Pornopalooza Floor, who was like, video game porn?
Yes.
This guy walks out. Here, listen to this. This guy walks out and like kind of in a panic, maybe looking around. He's like, he sees Brian and he's like, there you are, you guys. I thought you were part of the video game thing. And Brian's like, yeah, well, something came up and I had to leave. And he's like, I get it, been there. Look, I've been looking for you. Like, I need to talk to you about this video game porn idea. Like, can you really do this? And Brian kind of takes a beat for a minute and is like, yeah, well, I know how. I think I know how we could. Yes. And the guy's like, all right, I'm in. Let's do it. And he's like, what do you mean? And the guy's like, you may not know this by looking at me, but I'm pretty successful in this industry. Like, what do you say? I'll give you a $20,000 sign-in bonus if you tell no one else about this and start working for me. We'd develop it together. I'll give you a 50-50 split, all the profits.
Yes.
And they're like, are you serious, dude? And then Dale's like, we did it. Picks up Brian. They both fall in the fountain or whatever. But like, that's how this could basically end, is instead of winning the money in the tournament, they're just his like knowledge of video games and stuff. What do you got? Wins the day.
As okay, so I love this. It's like a last. We had a sad ending, then it turned into a medium ending. Right. Now it turns into a happy ending.
Right.
And as they're like splashing in the fountain and celebrating. Yeah. I'm going to steal this from you with the Street Fighter theme.
Yes.
The camera's in on them celebrating in the fountain, and then you see splashing, and then it pans out, and we're looking at a new fountain outside of an office building. On the front of the office building, you see Juicy Bits. Oh. And Brian's got a new car. It's the 90s. Brian's got like a 95 Mitsubishi Eclipse with tinted windows. Okay. He rolls into the parking spot and he gets out and he's like, I can't believe we're going to launch this today.
Right. And that's it. Juicy Bits is the company or the video game or all that and above. I love this. So Juicy Bits takes over the world, changes pornography and video games forever. And if that actually happened, it would have been a very interesting 90s. It was anyway. We had Duke Nukem and the Naked Ladies and that.
Yeah, we basically got there. Shake it, baby.
Oh man. But that's it. I think that's Juicy Bits, John. I think we did it.
Honestly, Juicy Bits was so much fun. And I like that it's kind of like an alternate history. Right. Whatever those are called.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
This isn't the alternate history of what if the Nazis won the war. This is just
more fun.
What if porn would have gotten a little bit more interactive in the earlier. 90s.
Yeah, it would have been. Maybe we would have saved ourselves a recession, or something. Would have definitely benefited mankind. But that was awesome. So, all right, another feature in the books. Juicy Bits. That was a blasty blast.
The beer by Weldwerks, the video game company made by Brian and a weird porn magnate.
Yeah, whose name, and he can be played by, I don't know, Christopher Lloyd or someone cool.
Yeah.
Kind of a crazy-haired Hawaiian shirt-wearing dude who always has jellies on or Birkenstocks or something. We'll have a lot of fun with it if we ever make this into a real movie. This would be a hoot, and I'm sure people will be clamoring to be in it.
Sorry if you watched thinking you were going to get porn.
Right. You
got a porn convention.
Everything but the butt. Okay, so... what else? Remember to follow us, Instagram, Untapped, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you listen to things that are podcasts. We should be there. If not, let us know, but we should be in all of them. Other than that,
And thanks for your feedback on the polls too.
Yes.
We've got a winner we're going to announce on the next podcast.
that's right. Thank you for that. We'll try to do more. We got a lot of great feedback, so want you guys to be as involved as technology will allow it. So hold on to your hats for that. But until next time,
Peace. Punch. Give me your lunch.